Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Snape here and I'm back with a brand new video. Today, guys, I'm going to be teaching you how to warm up properly for Apex Legends. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, comment down below, and please subscribe your notifications on that way you never miss an upload. Without further ado, let's jump straight into this. So I'm going to be basically going through some steps and what you should do to get yourself warmed up properly, because there is nothing worse than playing Apex not warmed up. Whether that is when you start missing your shots, whether you just feel rusty, when you start getting frustrated because you're not performing anywhere near as good as you should do. These are going to be the steps that you need to be taking just as you log on, just so you can start developing yourself back to that state where then you can then be playing as good as you know you can. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is warm up these. There is nothing worse than cold hands. Now, it might just be the room that you're in. Maybe you haven't got the heating on at this time of year. When we are getting cold hands, it's normally just because the body is trying to keep a regular body temperature. So that blood does tend to leave the hands first, like the things like the feet, just to try and keep the body warm. So what we need to do is we need to just warm up the hands. Now, what I like to do is I like to sit on my hands any way possible you can, try and warm them up. I also, might seem a bit stupid, but I also like to actually flap my hands around quite a lot. Now, I might be like, oh, what are you doing, man? You ain't a bird. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the blood back to the hands just so that they can start to begin warm. As we say, as the body temperature starts to warm up more, the body will start to obviously go back to where, you know, other places. So that is going to be step number one. Once we've warmed up our hands, you start to feel they've got a little bit more movement, less stiff. They feel a bit more like they're back to normal. We are then going to jump into that firing range. Once we are now in the firing range, what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a gun of our choice. I do not care what gun you want. Just make sure you get a gold mag. Don't worry about attachments. Just get yourself a gold magazine, whatever gun you want. I'm just going to use the 301 with a gold light mag. Then from here, now this is optional. You might turn around and say to me, like, I don't like listening to anything when I'm warming up. But personally, I would just say, whack yourself some music on, maybe a Twitch stream, maybe a YouTube video. Get yourself something where you can just put your earphones in, not really listening to like the bullets or anything like that. And you can just literally focus. And then what you also need to do is you need to get yourself into a comfortable position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit myself back a little bit more here, because when I'm recording, I do sometimes sit forward. That's not how I play. When I'm playing, I would normally sit back like so. Now, what I personally think you need to be warming up on first is your tracking. You need to probably have a gun that is single fire. You can use like an R9 and things like that, but obviously it's going to be a bit more burst. It's not going to be on that single fire. And then from there, we are just going to go through and just literally just shoot targets one shot at a time, just so we start to get a feel for it. Now, don't be put off if obviously you start missing the first few. You know, that's just going to be the case. You literally only just warmed up your hands. You need to get used to your sensitivity. You need to get your muscle memory back. Over time, you'll start like getting the feel for it back again. And you'll be like, oh yeah, now I'm getting more confident. All of a sudden, this feels good. Then you can probably start to challenge yourself. You can start going, right, I'm going to go for the back targets every single time. And then I'm going to go middle. Just have fun with it. Like, don't think too much about it. There's nothing worse than like winding yourself up over warm-ups, because you don't need to. Just warm up single fire, just so you can start practicing that tracking, and then you'll be able to move on to the next step. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to take our gun off a single fire and we're going to put it on auto. Make sure you've got your range dummies set up to so that they don't stand still. You've got them strafing left to right. You got strafe speed on run. There's no point having random. Put it on run, because that way they're moving left to right nice and quickly. Armor on mythic, and then have crouch off and random intervals off as well. So they literally are just going left and right. Because what we're going to do now is we are just going to start practicing our shooting. So this is going to be practicing our ADSing. It's nice and simple, nothing too complicated. All we're doing is just looking over, just shooting a target. Now, what I like to do in between shots is I like to do little circles like that, just so I'm just getting myself a little feel for that muscle memory, just to remember what my sense is, just so I start to warm up a little bit more. And we are just going to keep practicing that, just literally, once again, listening to music, chilling out, no pressure at all. There is no reason for you to be like beating yourself up, like, oh man, I can't hit my shots today. As simple as that. That is going to be step number 3, ADSing. Once we've obviously started getting the hang of the near ADS, we're then going to go into the longer ADS. We're just going to aim up top there, and we're going to start practicing our ADS up the top there. So all we're doing is say, once again, we're not beating ourselves up over it. We're just going to try our best every single time just to try and get a high 200s, a 300, and just literally relax those thumbs, relax your hands. Whether you're on a controller or PC, just practicing. It's all it is just literally practicing the recoil. Because what we've done is we've just obviously practiced against the strafing. Now we're practicing the recoil just for those longer range shots. Push sight on if you want, but I would still try and not do any attachments, just because this way you are getting used to how it would feel when you pick up a gun off the drop. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're then going to practice our hipfire. So you see I've just gone and got an R9, and then I'm literally going to start off by just practicing my tracking with just the hipfire. So literally just left to right, try my best to keep my tracking on the target. The better I get at this, then obviously I can then start to get the clip on the dummy. And then once again I'll do the same, just follow in the track. And when I start to get more confident, tracking it. Try and do this standing still, because then that way you'll start to get better with that right analog stick. And once again, probably with the right hand if you're on mouse and key. Because once I find though, once I start moving as well, I just find the whole thing a lot easier to do, because I can just literally walk in line with the dummy. So it does make a bit more sense for you to just practice just the tracking to start with, and then move on to that. Once obviously you have done those steps, whether that is say tracking with your ADS, your ADS aim, your recoil, or just your hip fire. Once you've done those steps, there's two things that you can do. Now, if you have friends with you, you could start doing 1v1s in the firing range. That's a good way for you to get really warmed up, get your reactions going, just nice quick fire into the battle, into the fight. Snappy, okay? But I understand a lot of time, sometimes you've not got friends there. Sometimes you haven't got any teammates online, and you are like, right, okay, I'm going to have to solo queue ranked later on, but I still need to warm up a bit more. That's where we have the beauty of MIXTAPE. Got the name of it there for a second there. We can jump into MIXTAPE, because at the end of the day, this does not matter. This literally is just for fun, just for warming up, just for just enjoying. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about your KD, it doesn't matter about how well you play. It's just going to get yourself into those quick fight situations. I mean, depending on what game mode you're playing, if it is gun run, obviously you're going to get a cycle between all the guns. But if you are playing team deathmatch or control, you're obviously going to get the option of your loadouts, wherefore you might be able to use a gun that you actually use quite a lot in combat. And you're just going to get yourself into a lot more fights. This is a lot better option than jumping straight into pubs, because as soon as you jump into pubs, you are just going to obviously land hot. You might end up with something like a Mozam, which you're not really going to be using that often, and you're not going to be getting yourself into a good state of mind, because you're going to be starting to get aggravated about dying. You know, your KD might be going down and you're going to get angry and angrier. So what you need to do is say, jump into MIXTAPE. MIXTAPE is going to be your best friend, and then from there you can enjoy it. Once again, you could still be listening to music, YouTube videos, anything like that. Just kick back, relax, and just get used to the actual feel of it. That is literally everything, guys. I say use those firing range drills just to get yourself warmed up. Make sure you get your hands no longer cold before you even start, and then just kick back, relax, and then from there take yourself into MIXTAPE. And then once you've done enough games in there, hop yourself into a ranked game, and I promise you, you will perform so much better. That's everything. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next video.